When a man hurts you, confuse him like this. Good evening, sisters. I know some of you walked in tonight carrying invisible bruises. Words he tossed like darts. Promises he broke as casually as canceling a lunch date. Maybe even actions that felt like a sucker punch to your soul. I've been there, clutching a carton of Rocky Road ice cream, asking God if Ben and Jerry could be considered an Old Testament comfort food. But here's the twist when a man wounds you, the most bewildering and liberating. Response is not retaliation, it's redirection. First, take a deep breath and remember whose you are. Scripture says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That means your value wasn't minted in his compliments, and it can't be foreclosed by his criticism. So before you text back a paragraph that could double as a Supreme Court brief, pause. Whisper a prayer. Let heaven's perspective flood the room. Because when the enemy sends a storm, God hands you an umbrella labeled identity. Now, I'm not advocating sugary denial. Pain is real, and unprocessed pain leaks onto everyone else. But acknowledge it in the presence of the one who can handle raw honesty. David raged and repented in the same journal entry. And God still called him a man after his own heart. So cry if you need to, journal. Scream into a pillow if it is good lumbar support. But once the tears dry, pivot from victim to steward. Steward what? Your response. Here's where the holy confusion begins. He expects a fire-breathing dragon. Give him a woman whose boundaries are steel, but whose words are honey. That's unsettling. When he anticipates a courtroom showdown, you calmly say, I'm stepping back for my healing. No insults, no front, row seats to your meltdown. Just dignified distance. Boundary setting isn't vengeance, it's emotional hygiene. You don't have to slam the door. Sometimes you simply relocate the door to a gated community called peace. Next, sprinkle kindness like confetti, strategically, not endlessly. Kindness isn't letting him walk back in with muddy shoes. It's refusing to sling mud yourself. It's sending a short, polite reply instead of an all caps manifesto. It's praying good over him even when you'd rather mail him a brochure on personal growth. That sort of grace is confusing because it's counter-cultural. The world says, match energy. The kingdom whispers, match Christ. Remember Joseph, betrayed by brothers, dumped in a pit, sold off, imprisoned on fake charges. Dude had every reason to start a podcast called Petty and Prosperous. Instead, he rose to power and used influence to save the very brothers who betrayed him. They were speechless, confused, because grace doesn't fit human math. When you respond with that same kingdom calculus, the man who hurt you has to sit with his choices in the stark light of your composure. Does that guarantee he'll apologize? No. Sometimes the apology is the silence you give yourself after closing the chapter. Confusing him isn't about manipulating his next move. It's about refusing to let his choices script your story. You give heaven the pen. Finally, pivot from reaction to creation. Create new habits. Join that exercise class. Finish the degree. Serve at church. Plant a garden if you have more faith than soil. Every step forward proclaims, I am not what was done to me. I am what God is doing through me. That declaration echoes louder than any clap back. So to every woman here wrestling with heartbreak, confuse him by healing loudly and arguing softly. Confuse him by radiating kindness and enforcing boundaries. Confuse him by walking away with your crown straight, not crooked. Because when a man hurts you, the greatest plot twist is that the wound becomes where God plants something glorious, something so dazzling, it leaves your offender blinking in holy confusion. There's a power in silence that thunder can't touch, a power in grace that chaos can't decode. And when a man wounds you, be it through words, betrayal, emotional absence, or actions that send tremors through your spirit, the last thing he expects is grace. Not the passive kind that enables mistreatment, but the radiant kind that disarms, confuses, and ultimately elevates you. Because grace, when delivered in strength and self-possession, becomes a response so holy, so counterintuitive, it rattles the very foundation of the one who caused the pain. When someone hurts us, the knee-jerk response is to hurt back. We want him to feel it. Feel the sting, the loss, the consequences of making us cry at midnight or question our worth while scrolling through his disappearing affection. But here's the truth: reaction is easy. Retaliation is predictable. He's ready for your rage. He's prepared for the emotional flood. What he isn't ready for is your calm, your stillness, your decision to rise above rather than wrestle in the mud. Grace is not weakness. It's mastery over your own emotional landscape. It's knowing that your dignity is not up for negotiation based on someone else's chaos. And let's be real. Responding with grace doesn't mean sugarcoating what happened or ignoring how it made you feel. It means choosing how and when you address it. It's deciding that his actions won't dictate your voice or volume. Picture this: he says something cruel, hoping to provoke you. Instead of escalating, you breathe, you pause, you speak with clarity and compassion, not to spare his ego, but to preserve your peace. I don't accept being spoken to like that, you say. Firm, not frantic. No raised voice, no dramatic exit. Just pure presence. Just truth in a velvet robe. That kind of self-control doesn't come from pride. It comes from practice, from talking to God before talking to him, from remembering that your identity is not in his approval, but in the unwavering affection of the one who called you worthy before he ever called you beautiful. When you respond with grace, you aren't pretending you're not hurt. You're simply refusing to let the hurt steal your identity. Now here's where it gets powerful. When a woman speaks truth in gentleness, it carries weight, not weakness, not apology. Wait. Grace doesn't erase accountability. It actually shines a light on it. It forces him to confront himself without the distraction of your fury. And trust me, sometimes that is the most unsettling mirror a man can face. Because what do you do with a woman who doesn't scream, doesn't beg, doesn't spiral? You look at her and realize she's anchored, that you can't shake her, because her worth doesn't live in your hands, that her response wasn't passive. It was a choice. And now you're left to sit with the echo of your own behavior while she keeps moving forward with poise and power. Let's be clear, grace doesn't mean staying in situations that are harmful. It doesn't mean softening boundaries or excusing disrespect. It means exiting with honor, speaking with integrity, and preserving your soul. It's the quiet strength of a woman who knows she can walk away without slamming a door, because she knows who opened it in the first place. In every hurtful moment, you have two choices. Let it mold you into bitterness, or let it shape you into someone wiser. And responding with unexpected grace, when everything in you wants to lash out, is the moment you reclaim control. It's the moment you say, you don't get to define me. My reaction is mine, not yours. That's why grace confuses him. Because it exposes his immaturity. while highlighting your emotional intelligence. It makes him question not your worth, but his choices. It shifts the power dynamic without a single tear weaponized, without a single insult returned. So the next time a man tries to pull you into a storm, stand firm. Look him in the eye with calm certainty and speak truth without venom. Let your presence remind him that storms don't shake women who've built themselves on rock, not sand. And walk away, not with spite, but with silence louder than any scream. There comes a moment, often after the tears have dried and the ache in your chest has turned into a quiet, hollow space, when you realize this isn't just about heartbreak, it's about self-worth. When a man has hurt you, emotionally neglected you, lied to you, manipulated you, or simply stopped showing up, you reach a fork in the road. One path is reaction, chase, explain, cling, plead for clarity. The other, reclamation. A sacred, soul-saving return to you. And that begins with one word: boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, punishment, they're protection. And more than that, they're a powerful declaration. I am worthy of love that doesn't require me to lose myself. Pulling back emotionally may feel unnatural at first. You've been conditioned to give, to care, to fix, to hold on. But there is nothing holy about clinging to someone who keeps breaking pieces of you. Let that truth settle in your spirit. You are not called to beg for basic respect. You are not here to water dead plants or rescue someone from a mess they keep choosing. Reclaiming your worth with boundaries means stepping back, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. It's recognizing that access to you is a privilege, not a guarantee. Not everyone deserves front row seats to your heart. Not everyone can handle the responsibility of your vulnerability. So when a man mistreats you, confuses you, or fails to show up for you in the way you need, the most powerful thing you can do is retreat with grace and clarity. You don't need to scream, post cryptic quotes, or start a 3-day texting war. Sometimes the strongest move is silence. Sometimes healing begins not when you get the apology, but when you finally stop waiting for it. Guarding your heart isn't being cold, it's being wise. The Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. That means your energy, your decisions, your peace, your future, it all flows from how well you protect the emotional core of who you are. And when someone repeatedly wounds that core, you don't have to keep the door wide open. Letting healing begin means choosing yourself in quiet, unapologetic ways. It means unfollowing him, not to spark curiosity, but to reclaim your mental space. It means not answering every message, not rushing to explain your silence, not trying to be cool with someone who wasn't kind. It means surrounding yourself with people who pour back into you, reminding you of the woman you were before his behavior made you question her. And here's the beautiful paradox: boundaries don't push people away. They filter out the ones who were never meant to stay. A man who genuinely values you won't be offended by your self-respect. He'll be drawn to it. But the ones who benefited from your lack of boundaries will suddenly feel the shift. And yes, that might confuse or anger them. But their reaction is not your responsibility. Your healing is. Boundaries also recenter your dignity. They give you the emotional distance to see the situation clearly. Because let's be honest, when you're too close, when you're emotionally entangled and spiritually tired, you can't always discern love from attachment or chemistry from chaos. But when you step back, you begin to see the patterns. You begin to see how you were showing up for someone who was only half present. You begin to see the moments you overextended while he underdelivered. And instead of blaming yourself, you start blessing yourself with the clarity you deserve. Dignity doesn't mean staying quiet forever or refusing reconciliation if it's genuine and safe. Dignity means not lowering your standards just to keep someone who doesn't know how to handle your heart. It means walking away when staying means self-betrayal. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I love you too much to keep giving to someone who can't or won't love you back. So if you're standing in that space today, hurt, confused, longing for closure or change, let this be your invitation. Reclaim your worth. Draw the line. Pull back, not to punish him, but to protect you. Guard your heart, not out of fear, but out of reverence for how precious it is. Begin the healing, not because he said sorry, but because you finally decided that you deserve peace more than you need validation. There's a peculiar power in kindness. A holy kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't slap back, doesn't need the last word. When a man hurts you, when he walks away without explanation, or wounds you with words that cut deep, the world teaches you to retaliate. The culture says, let him feel it. The pain whispers, make him regret it. But God's way, it's a plot twist, a sacred inversion of logic. Because when you choose kindness where bitterness is expected, it shakes the room. Kindness isn't passive. It's not pretending the pain didn't happen or that the offense didn't bruise your soul. Kindness is not a denial of hurt. It's a decision about how you carry it. When a man has wronged you, especially one who knows your heart and still mishandled it, choosing compassion is not weakness. It's warfare of the highest kind. It's you choosing to anchor your identity in divine confidence, not broken affection. Here's the secret. He expects bitterness. He expects the cold shoulder, the sharp tongue, the revenge post, or the emotional breakdown. He's prepared for that. It confirms his narrative, justifies his detachment, protects him from accountability. But when you respond with kindness, not flattery, not access, not nod of a softness, but grounded, intentional grace, you disrupt his expectation. Suddenly, the mirror reflects not your rage, but his behavior. Kindness, when offered from a healed and holy place, becomes the sharpest weapon because it doesn't just impact him, it preserves you. You get to walk away with clean hands and a steady heart. You don't have to carry the guilt of retaliation. You don't have to waste energy plotting, posting, or performing. You rise with quiet elegance and keep moving. Imagine this: he sends a cruel message or ends the relationship coldly, expecting you to spiral. Instead, you say, thank you for the clarity. No sarcasm, no venom, just calm, controlled, confident. That response doesn't just confuse him, it convicts him. Because now he has to face his behavior in the echo of your dignity. And maybe he doesn't say it out loud, but trust me, he feels it. Your kindness leaves a residue. But let's be clear. This kind of kindness doesn't mean open doors or second chances where none should be given. It doesn't mean accepting disrespect or tolerating mistreatment. No, no. Boundaries remain firm. Distance is respected. What changes is your posture. You're not choosing compassion because he deserves it. You're choosing it because you deserve peace. There's a holy maturity in that. It's the fruit of spending time in prayer, in the Word, in the presence of the one who knows your worth even when others don't. When you're anchored in God, breathe confidence. You no longer need external validation to confirm your value. You no longer need revenge to feel seen. You no longer need to mirror someone's brokenness to prove you're hurt. You've already been healed in places they can't touch. And kindness, real Spirit-led kindness, is magnetic. Not because it draws him back, but because it draws you closer to your best self. It keeps you from becoming what hurt you. It preserves your softness in a world that tries to harden women who feel too deeply. It protects your joy, your integrity, your testimony. That doesn't mean you won't feel the sting of what happened. It doesn't mean you don't cry, or grieve, or wrestle with the betrayal. But once the emotions settle, you get to choose your response. And when that response is laced with gentleness instead of bitterness, it's not just confusing to him. It's healing for you. Kindness is power under control. It's a woman who knows she could destroy someone with a truth bomb, but instead chooses stillness and lets God handle the justice. That kind of woman is unforgettable. That kind of woman is free. And that kind of woman is a force that no man, no matter how careless, can truly ignore.